This really is one for the history books. 2025 marks a milestone that none of us could have imagined just a few years ago. For the first time ever, Heart is officially the UK's biggest radio brand, bigger than BBC Radio 2, and that changes the game for commercial radio. But it's not just about the numbers, it's about the joy, it's about the feel-good energy, the connection that Heart has created with audiences across the UK every hour of the day from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening. Now, today, we're going to delve into exactly why that might have happened and why Heart has been doing so well recently. And hopefully, later on, there'll be a chance for you to ask some questions as well. I've been told about Slido. I don't know much about it, but I hope you do. So if you want to ask a question at any time, maybe now, or maybe when you're listening to something later on, it should come through. And if we've got time, we'll go through to it as well. Before we go into it, you're probably wondering, who's the guy talking on stage? I've never seen him in my life. My name's Matt Wilkinson. I do the afternoon show on Heart between 1 and 4, Monday to Friday. I've been into the Heart family now for 17 years, and long enough to see some questionable studio fashion trends come and go, but also long enough to feel genuinely proud of how far the brand has come. And let's talk about it now. And please welcome the voices you know and love waking up to every morning to start your day on Heart Breakfast. Jamie Theakston, Amanda Holden, and new member of the Heart family, Pippa Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's go back to that moment, Jamie and Amanda. So Heart has overtaken BBC Radio 2. What went through your mind when you found out the news a few months ago?
What went through my mind. I think it was extraordinary, but I've been on the show nearly 7 years, but it must have, it was extraordinary.
Yeah, so how long have you said you were, 17 years, yeah. I see, I've got 5 years on you. So when I started, Radio 2 had a benchmark number that we never believed that we would ever manage to overhaul. So I guess in a way it was quite, an extraordinary moment really for us to be able to overhaul that number.
It was when everyone started saying, oh, whose is that mic?
Probably me.
Is it you? Is it me? It might be me. That we'd made history. And you're like, oh my God, if you think about it, it's like the first time in radio history a commercial radio station took over a stalwart, an amazing show, but still we're obviously better. And it just felt incredible. And Ashley Tabor, who obviously owns the Global and everything, I think it's been his life's ambition. So I'm quite worried he's just going to drop the mic and bugger off back to a private island now, and we'll never see him again.
That was right. There was always an ambition from the beginning that they wanted Heart to become the Radio 2 of commercial radio. So.
And I think he was laughed at. I think people just looked at him in disbelief, but he always knew he could do it. And for us to be part of that team was just amazing.
Yeah.
So you talked about the 22 years even that you've been part of the Heart family. How has Heart changed in that time, would you say? And what has turned it into the beast that it is now?
Well, I guess in many ways it hasn't changed a lot. And I think that's maybe part of its success. I think certainly when you do a breakfast show, one of the things that obviously it's all set around people's routine, and people don't like change significantly, and they like to have that sense of familiarity, which I think is really important at breakfast. So in many ways it hasn't changed. I guess in terms of our brand relationships, it's changed significantly. I think it's allowed us to do bigger things, bigger competitions, more things with a bit more scale, which is fantastic. How else have we changed?
I came into radio and everybody was saying to me, oh, why are you doing radio? Because you do telly. And I was like, well, because it's an incredible medium, and you reach, I think, even more people through listening to people listening in their cars, listening when they're having breakfast. And for me, it feels like a much more sort of real medium, in a way you can get into people's heads. And I think, without sounding dramatic, but during COVID in 2019, when there were so many people on their own, isolated, I think that was a real game changer for our show, particularly because we were in the ears of people who were lonely, feeling a bit scared. We travelled into London every day. It was brilliant. I got in 20 minutes. No traffic. It was bizarre. But I think we we definitely got loads more listeners then because we felt like people's family to them. And if they were isolated or on their own, we were with them every step of the way. And every experience we were going through, we shared it with them. And I think that it was a positive thing to come out of COVID was how important radio was as a medium to our nation.
I was thinking exactly that. I think it's the same thing. It's, you know, there's so much rules and regulations at COVID. Can I see my dad? What am I going to do at Christmas? All that kind of stuff. And what you need is something that's familiar and constant and something which you had beforehand. What can I rely on and go back to? Well, it's Heart, and it's Heart Breakfast. It's you two. You were there before it started, and you were there to hold essentially people's hands through it.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of build a trust with an audience at that kind of time, don't you? And that sort of carries on.
Well, it's a relationship. You know, I've you know, since I've started doing it, you know, I've got married, I've had children, and I think the listeners have been on that journey with us. So I think that's really important.
Also, I think the other thing is, when I started, everyone was like, oh, you'll be able to go to work in your pajamas. I was like, I don't think so, darling.
I know.
And I have obviously, I'm very put together every single day, because what has changed for radio is that it is everywhere. We go viral every day with some sort of shenanigan that me and Ashley or Jamie get up to.
I don't get involved in that.
It's normally you eating things.
It's normally me eating things, or I think I farted live on air. And I think that was caught on camera. I've fallen off a stool by accident. We do so much. We've got the Global Player app now where everyone can watch us when we have amazing guests. We just had James Norton and Louis Partridge on for House of Guinness, which is on Thursday. And people at home now can click on the app and watch us. So radio is not just about hearing people anymore. It's about seeing people. It is about knowing what I'm wearing, what Ashley's wearing, and Jamie. So I think digitally, it's a game changer for you guys as well, because everything that you want to try and sell, we can sell visually as well. And my favourite way to do it is when we're asked to do epic things. Like I abseiled down a building the other day for Jurassic, the new movie. We've built planes upstairs where we've pretended to be on jets. We've had conveyor belts. You know, it's massive. And because Global have the scope and the foresight and the room to do all of that. And me and Jamie are quite creative, and we rely on our humour to get it over the line, because people hate being sold stuff when they think it's boring.
Yeah, and I think
here comes an advert.
Those brand partnerships are really important because they do allow us to be able to do those things which we wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, and if we can inject humour into it, that's the best way.
Well, we'll get into some of those in a second. Pippa, let me bring you in as well, because you've been working for the last 10 years on Radio X with Chris Moyles.
Yep.
You've worked with some of the biggest names in radio as well. You've recently joined to executive produce Heart Breakfast.
Got another woman.
Thanks, Amanda.
Why did you decide to come over to the Red Team?
Well, do you know, it was a hard decision because I've had a lovely 10 years with Chris Moyles, obviously a big name in radio, and Radio X was like a family where I met my husband there. I've been now happily married for 3 years. Don't need to that. I was asked to come across. I thought long and hard about it, but to me, after nearly 10 years there, it was kind of a bit of a no-brainer, because you get a chance to come to this brand which is forward-thinking and it's inspiring. And I think what Heart's not afraid to do is, which a lot of things get a lot of radio stations get bogged down in, is that they're not afraid to be emotional, heartwarming, changing people's lives. I think entertaining can come in many forms, and a lot of people think it's just making people laugh, but it isn't. It's being able to touch people and not being afraid to be serious for a moment. So I think Heart, like turning up the feel-good, which is such a perfect strapline for them, it just means you can do so much. It makes you so broad. It gets you really into people's lives. And what I love about Jamie and Amanda as well, like Amanda in particular, because you see a side of Amanda that you wouldn't normally see. So in Britain's Got Talent, Amanda has, worries about her own children going to a new school and, needs to hoover up leaves on her patio with a hoover sometimes, and just do things that people can really relate to. And it's so nice for listeners to be able to have that connection as well, that we're all in the same boat underneath it all. We're all just human going through life, you know. So, yeah, I love it here, and I'm excited about what we're going to do.
Excellent. And what you know, you talked about some of the brand partnerships that you've been doing at Radio X in the past. What kind of have there been any sort of highlights for you?
Yeah, I think again, as the guys have said, some of the best partnerships are the ones which really stand out or get you out, either outside of the studio or doing something unusual, like an abseil or, you know, seats, you know, on a plane or something. One of our favourites, we did one with Yellowstone, where we changed Radio X into Radio Y. I don't know if any of you saw it. It's like a cowboy-based ranch TV series with Kevin Costner. And very simple, but we got a bucking bronco just nearby, and then each member of the team would see how long they could last on a bucking bronco, and it was just a competition with the audience to see who could last the longest. It was me. Thank you. But yeah, and it was just really fun, just connected. It was really easy, straightforward format, but it was a bit different. You know, seeing Chris Moyles on a bucking bronco, you're going to want to see that online. You know, it's bits that can live onwards that you're fascinated by. We did another one with motors, so any car companies are always great. Giving away a car is such a lovely, shiny gift prize that you can give to people. So yeah, we did this big sort of Top Gear style competition around a big, huge roulette wheel called Car Roulette, and we just put a little bit of petrol in the car, and we put it around this huge roulette wheel on an airfield somewhere until it ran out, and then the number that it landed on went to the caller on the line who represented the number, and that was really big. It made such an impact. So yeah, anything where we could just, you know, create a bit of excitement, a bit of something a bit unusual, that they really fly.
Nice. Hopefully bring some of those sort of ideas over to Heart Breakfast as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just something that you said earlier on, which stuck with me. You're right. It's not just about making people laugh. It's about connecting with people.
Yeah.
One of my favourite things that you guys have done over the last few years is when you had your big push for blood donation. You did one day, and there was like a huge spike in the number of people who registered to be blood donors. And the stories you had on that day, who you were chatting to, it was really amazing. I found it great as a listener as well. And I was wondering, if not that, is there anything that's really sticks out in your head for something?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example, because what that felt for me was something that was very I mean, on the face of it, it's the sort of thing that seems an odd choice to do something like that for a breakfast radio show. But what it did do, it amplified the sense of community that I think we have on the show. It was one of those things that everyone could get involved in. It also, I was thinking, having an emotional response is really important when it comes to doing what we do, whether it's making people laugh or making people cry. And I felt that some of the stories that people were coming to us with were really meaningful. We reintroduced people who had lost loved ones, with people whose blood had allowed their other members of their family to live, and some of them had never met before, and we were reintroducing, which was pretty emotional. We were able to tie it by saying, well, look, what you've done is you've been able to save however many people's lives. So I think it was quite a moving and an emotional morning when we did that.
Absolutely. Any other sort of highlights you can think of in your sort of 7 years on Heart Breakfast? Is it poignant moments, or is it sort of laugh out loud moments that really stick with you?
I mean, I always say when I come into Heart, however I come in, and I have, like Pippa said, you know, I have the same worries of everyone else. I'm a mum my husband's at home when I'm doing the show, and I still get the calls from my children when I'm live on asking for lost sandwich boxes and PE kits. It drives me mad. But I have all of that. But I think for me, it is the emotion which I think that's Jamie's sort of skills. And however I come into work, I always go out feeling better. I always come in, I have a great time, I laugh my head off. But it's been things that we've done, I think for Globals Make Some Noise as well. We've done some extraordinary things. We've jumped out of planes. I cycled from London to Cornwall. My mum and dad have been involved in the show. My mum often comes on air because she gets everything wrong, and she's brilliant and funny, and it just feels like, and it is a cliche, and I hate myself for saying it, but we do feel like a family. And every experience that we go through, we share with our lovely listeners, and it's an incredible job to be part of such an amazing team, I have to say.
And it's worth saying, it's not just Heart Breakfast. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, there might be people in the audience who know about this, and maybe you guys as well. I can't think of another major radio station where the daytime lineup hasn't changed in 5-6 years. You guys, first thing, Pandora, myself, JK and Kelly, and I kind of wonder if that's part of that kind of consistency. You know, if you're a listener, whatever time of day, and you want to stick heart on, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the success, not just on breakfast, but throughout the day. And so listeners have come to know and sort of trust that, perhaps. One of the things that I like, one of my sort of highlights, I guess, which has also done well over the last 5 years, is one of our games. We do lots of premium rate games, we do lots of branded content games as well, which all work really well. But Heart Make Me a Millionaire is
Oh my God.
one of our most famous events. We've now made 5 millionaires. You know, before we started this, only one radio station had ever given away £1 million before. So we've done it, and no one's ever done it twice. Well, we've done it, like I say, 5 times now. And it's always a special event because for me, it's sort of, it goes, I don't know, if you don't know how it works, the idea being every day we give people a sum of money, we get callers on, would you like £5,000 or would you like to say no to £5,000 and instead go with a chance of winning £1 million? And it's a sort of series of games that we do throughout the day for, 10 weeks, and then it culminates in a live final, which is on Heart Breakfast, anchored by Jamie and presented brilliantly by Amanda in our Millionaires Vault. And as you were saying earlier about it being like, it's not just you're not just listening to it, you're watching it, and that live final then becomes something which you can watch on Global Player, which is the official Heart app, and it really becomes something special, doesn't it? Something that you must remember every single time.
Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest show. It's probably our biggest show of the year, and it's something that we could only do with sort of brand partnerships, and it allows us to do things that no one else can do, and it's an exciting morning.
We also like it when brands bring in freebies for us. That's always a winner. Currently, our boots look after our whole show, and there's loads of perfumes and bits and bobs. I've done my Christmas shopping already. I'm done. I've nicked it all. I've got a whole cupboard at work.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me one of my favourite moments on air, going back to the game, is that I remember there was this guy called Paul. This was a few years ago. He was on the streets of Liverpool, and we'd offered him £1,000, and we were doing a video call with him, a FaceTime, and I was chatting to him, and then I could see in the background this complete stranger went, "Oh, is that Jamie Theakston?" Because we always get confused for each other. Well, you probably don't. People often say, "I sound like Jamie." That's definitely where the comparisons end. But there was this guy who was like, "Oh, is that Jamie Theakston?" And obviously it was me. And then he realised that he was playing. This guy Paul was playing "Make Me a Millionaire," and he was like, "Oh, go for the million." And then Paul decided, even though £1,000 would probably be quite good for him, he decided to go for the millionaire because he wanted to meet Amanda Holden.
He could have paid me a tenner; it would have been cheaper.
Yeah, I know, but for me that like perfectly, showed the brand as a whole. He's playing a game at 2:00 in the afternoon. He thinks of you first, and he ultimately says he doesn't want the £1,000 because he wants to meet you. And then the next week he's down in London. We put them up in a hotel, and we give him breakfast the next morning, and he has a chance to go for £1 million. And that's what we do. We sort of put the listener at the centre of it. And that's why the games are great, because it's not just about one winner. It's about the process to get to that, and all the people that come to London for the final. We make them feel great, right?
Yeah, it's a great day. Yeah, you can't get into a taxi in London when we're playing that game without a driver saying, "Oh, we're getting the £1 million final."
Yeah, exactly.
It's a special day.
And I think that's why it works, because you will know what you do with £1 million. Everyone knows in their head what their £1 million dream would be, and I think that's why also that game works as well, because everyone's got a thought for it, and everyone can talk about what you do with £1 million, can't you? What would you do with £1 million?
Thank you. I'd obviously go on a holiday to... Actually, do you know what I would do? I'd go on a tour of the world to all the festivals of the world. I think that's what me and my husband...
You do all the escape rooms. That's her secret hobby.
She loves the escape.
Was a
Loves
secret.
an escape room. How many escape rooms have you done, Pippa?
Amanda. Oh my God, I'm such a nerd. Oh God. So, yeah, probably over 200. Oh my God, I'm such a nerd. Yeah, over 200 escape rooms. We love them. Me and my husband Toby will go somewhere specifically to do an escape room. Thanks for that, Amanda. Yeah, actually, that's what I do. I'll build my own one. My own company.
Well, maybe we should sort of bring an escape room mechanic into some sort of branded content.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good
I
idea.
think mine and Jamie's best mechanic, if we had to come up with a mechanic, would be that we would have to go to the Maldives to test whether a holiday that somebody could win is good enough.
I like that idea.
And we all have to go.
Let's do that.
Couple of questions from you. Thank you very much for those. Obviously, the Heart brand is bigger than BBC Radio 2. The Heart brand is made up of not just London's Heart, but also our sort of sister family of stations, which include Heart 80s, Heart 90s, Heart Dance. There's one called Heart Christmas, which I believe you like.
Yes.
Not yet.
Not yet. Soon.
Soon, though.
But here's a question.
November.
It says, Heart 80s, 90s and Dance contribute a lot to Heart's figures. What techniques do you use to keep those extension stations part of the family?
I think the extensions are really important because we've moved on from a kind of one-size-fits-all approach to radio. And I think what those stations allow us to do is they allow us to keep our listeners within that brand umbrella, but then be able to super serve them with exactly with what they want. So it allows, if they're country fans or if they're eras fans, I think it's a really important part of what we do, and I think and the numbers just prove that our audiences love them.
You never have to leave.
There you go.
Yeah.
They do Heart musicals as well.
They do? I know.
Yes.
Is that your favourite?
That's my favourite next to Christmas and obviously next to Heart Breakfast, obviously.
Thank you very much. John says, what are you going to do now to retain your lead over Radio 2 because the BBC will fight back?
Will they, though? Can they win though?
I think it's interesting. I mean, because obviously, as a BBC, the BBC, I think, is a very important cultural institution that we have in this country, and something we should be proud of. I was very much a BBC product. You know, I was radio trained with the BBC. I did BBC. I had shows on Radio 1 and Radio 2 and Radio 5. So I've come through the BBC, and one of the things that was different for me was how unimportant our radar numbers were when I was at the BBC. I didn't even really know when radar was. It was only when I came over to commercial radio did I realise what a big deal it was. And so actually one of the key differences is that the BBC they've suddenly become more besotted with numbers when they really shouldn't be, because what the BBC can do is do all the things that we don't do. You know, local radio, community radio, religious broadcasting, all of the things that wouldn't really operate or don't work in the commercial domain, because we can play Ed Sheeran and we'll do it for free. So it seems ridiculous to me that Radio 2 is essentially doing what we do. So I think that for the BBC to chase numbers is a mistake, and what they should really be doing is focusing on doing the kind of radio that commercial radio won't serve.
Pippa, you worked there as well.
I did.
Anything that you got from there that you've brought with you in your career in commercial radio?
Yeah, I mean, well, the big difference, exactly what Jamie said, you go for exactly the same with the radars. Didn't have a clue, especially for the first few years that you were there. They come and they go, and occasionally if you have a big lift, I think Joe Wiley put on 500,000 on one book and everyone went berserk, you know, because it's big. But on the whole, yeah, you're right, it wasn't really a huge deal. You're right, because you just focused on your audience and, you know, what you were there to do. So yeah, commercial radio is very numbers driven. It's very exciting, though. There is something about going for figures that makes it quite an exciting
And the other thing that we can do, which obviously the BBC can't do, is those brand partnerships, which you spoke about earlier, which are really important for what we do and allow us to do things that the BBC definitely can't.
Yeah, you could do much bigger, better things. You could do tours, like the Radio X have just been on a big tour. You have a sponsorship deal. You could do so much more stuff now, yeah, with commercial brands, yeah.
It's Heart Breakfast with Boots at the moment. We've got this fantastic competition at the moment also with British Airways and Universal. Just in a nutshell, it's called Seat in the Sky. We've got a BA jet booked at the end of October. It's going to Florida, and we've got to fill the plane. And so we're doing different mechanics at the moment.
I've offered to be the hostess up the front, serving the gin. I've always described our show as that. I said that Jamie is the captain and I'm up the back serving the alcohol for everyone. But now we can make that a reality.
Right, okay.
Don't fly the plane.
No.
And finally, because I know we're sort of running out of time, looking ahead, you know, is there a word you'd use to describe the future of Heart, you'd say? All of you?
Well, I think for me it would be, if we're looking at an AI future, then I think one of the things that we're going to want more and more of is human connection, because one of the things that we can provide that you can't get with AI is another human at the other end. So I would say connected would be my one word.
Okay.
I think Heart can also be one of the only brands that can actually change lives. I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, but they are life-changing, especially with the Make Me Millionaire. You're literally going in, even the one we're running at the moment, we're making people £250,000 richer every week, which is huge. And it's one of the only brands that can do it because, you know, because of the partnerships and, you know, because of the way we operate. I think you can use that to get to so many more people. So yeah, life-changing.
And sort of under that umbrella, I just want to keep our authenticity, because I think that we're very real. There's no snobbery about our station. We are real parents, real people who deal with things every single day and share that and love listening to the feedback that we get from our listeners. And I think if we keep being our authentic selves, then we will always, always be the winners.
Thank you. So if you needed proof that Heart is more than just a radio station, you've heard it. It's consistency, it's creativity, as Amanda says, it's connection, it's authenticity as well, and of course, a whole bundle of energy as well. So please join me in thanking Jamie, Amanda, and Pippa, some of the team behind the UK's biggest radio brand that we are all super proud to be part of. We've got some really amazing stuff planned for 2026, and we'd love you guys to be part of it. So thank you very much.